Good afternoon. My name is Claire Herbert. I mean, it's echoing. There's a whole lot of steam. Should I move it to the person speaking?
Is it going to be over there?
Yeah.
Who's going to be speaking?
Janelle, Boston, Victoria. Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to bring this close to you.
I could just move it to the person who's speaking.
Yeah. Yes. One more moment for everyone's patience here.
Thank you. Victoria, do you move here? Yes, I do. I know. That's fine, though. It's happening anyway.
Yeah. Yes, I can actually send, you can send that through a message to the waiting attendees. And I will just, it's through the chat, I'm pretty sure. Or actually, participants, attendees in the waiting room. Sarah, do you remember if when we started, if there will still be a waiting room? Or will there not be a waiting room? We'll get in. Okay. Okay. There's okay. Just some blah blah blah.
Hello, Teddy. How are you?
I think I need to. Pretty soon. Sorry, I don't think there is a way to send a message.
Yeah, we can just, yeah, we can start, and if we need to adjust it, do you have a few minutes to adjust it?
Okay. Go ahead one more time, Claire.
Testing the speaker. That seems more, yeah.
I'm getting a better level there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna start
Yeah,
and then we'll adjust
start.
as we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it look like I'm looking at you when I look at you? Oh, yeah. Yes, I'll just say welcome. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the Last Drop Water Researchers Speaker Series. This is for anyone interested in water sustainability issues. And I'm going to pass it for a minute over to Sarah to introduce our welcome.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the Project and Knowledge Mobilization Coordinator for the Just Waters Project, helping out with this event. And I'm very happy to introduce my good friend, Ramona Millier, who is a knowledge keeper who works with our project and is a really vital part of everything that we do. So I passed it back over to her yesterday and asked if she'd be willing to open things up just to kind of ground this.
Good morning. Before we start, can we all just stand up and shake? Because I got super nervous and I can't even imagine what you guys are feeling. Just shake and just like, oh, just let it all go. And whenever you're done, you can just stop. And then like, deep breath. Yeah. All right. Okay. That didn't really clear my nerves that much. But I wanted to say bonjour, Anin. Let's go ganawa washi condition cause Ninawa Wabishki Mekanaka Square. Indigo Legacy and Bluegan. Gish Gonagay. Yes, super nervous. My English name is Ramona Millier. I am originally from Treaty 1 territory. I'm originally from Peguis. A lot of people here in this territory know me as Ramona Bird. But I wanted to start off today and acknowledging the work that you're doing, and I'm pretty excited that all of the work that you're doing is connected to water. And as in our teachings and our cultural teachings, we remember that water is life, water brings life, and if without water, we would have no life. And it reminds me of one of the teachings that we have of one of my aunties created this song that I wanted to share just to kind of get us grounded for today, and remember that those teachings. They're not. I always use movie references with young people. Everybody watch Reservation Dogs? And remember when Willow Jack sat there and she prayed? And remember all of her ancestors came behind her? That's what I think of whenever we get up to do our work. And remember that all of that ancestral knowledge is what brings us here in the work that we do here today in this time and presence. And that knowledge and our voices are going to echo out into those 7 generations ahead in that work that we do. And the song that I wanted to share just a little bit is it's all about the water. And in this song, it's my aunt Doreen Day is the one that composed the song, and she composed the song after looking at the works of Dr. Emoto. He did some research on how water, how words impact water. And when we think about who we are as Indigenous people, and not just Indigenous people, as all people, we are all filled with water. And so when we use those good words and we sing those good songs, like what those energies does to us. And when you're doing this work with the studies and the research that you're doing, it is all good work that is coming back and bringing all of this information back to our people, so that we can start to create and bring start to see the water as that living life force. And so this song, that the way that the words that say to this song, we're saying, water, we love you, water, we thank you, and water, we respect you. And without going into a prayer or anything, that's going to be our prayer for today. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm really wanting to focus to those ones that are speaking, because I know that this is nerve-wracking. But let's just combine our energies together so that we can have that good energy in thinking of these songs. Gimme graduate, me go, get away, me go, nebe, gizage go, gimme graduate, me go, get away, me go, nebe, gizage go, gimme graduate, me go, get away, me go, nebe, gizage go, gimme graduate, me go, get away, me go. Oh, hey, Gretch. Let's get going. I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ramona. That was beautiful and very, I think it really grounded this moment and this time. And I would just like to welcome everyone here today and thank again our speakers for agreeing to talk about your work. I know it is really nerve-wracking, as Ramona said. So for me, trying to turn on my electronics again, because I have notes. So again, this is part of what we call our Last Drop series as well. So the UNAI Hub for SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation, is hosting this in conjunction with Just Waters. The Last Drop speaker series is brought to you by our United Nations Academic Impact Hub, as I said, with Just Waters. And to give you some of the background, in 2018, the University of Manitoba was named the UNAI Hub for Clean Water and Sanitation. And we were renewed under a new framework in 2025. And in this new iteration, we actually co-chair this working group with the Shiv Nadar Institution of Excellence in India. So it's a very international collaboration, all working and focused on freshwater sustainability and what it means to our different groups. And we have 3 vice chairs under that. So they are led by the Universidad Tecnológica de Uruguay, the Universidad Federal do Paraná, and the Oakland University in the US. Our goal is to foster education, research, and partnerships to advance SDG 6, leading to the 2030 water agenda. And our working group brings together established and emerging leaders who have a shared interest in freshwater sustainability and who work collaboratively with national and global partners to address the issues related to climate change impacts on freshwater ecosystems at local, regional, and global scales. U of M members include researchers from the Clayton H. Riddle Faculty of Environment, Earth and Resources, the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences, the Faculty of Arts, and the Faculty of Science, as well as collaborators in the Office of Sustainability. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Claire Herbert. I work in the Center for Earth Observation Science, which is within the Faculty of Environment. And I do want to introduce my colleagues, Mustafa Fayek, who is also in the Faculty of Environment, and he is one of the mentors of the students presenting today, and also Eric Collins is as well. So thank you very much. And in this virtual format, we are all coming from different locations. And I want to acknowledge that I am located in Winnipeg, Manitoba, on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the national homeland of the Red River Métis. And in the theme of our panel, I want to also acknowledge that my drinking water comes from Shoal Lake through Winnipeg's aqueduct, which was constructed in 1919 at the expense of Shoal Lake 40 First Nations water security. And I invite you in, I guess they can't in the chat add anything.
They can put it in the chat.
Okay, so if you can in the chat, I invite you to put where you are located. And so today we have our first talk of 2026. And this is in fact a panel discussion. And it's designed to be a very non-formal conversation. And I'm very, very excited to have today students presenting at all levels from high school to university, their research on water. And these students are mentored by the researchers I mentioned today, and I will introduce each of them and the researcher they work with. And before we begin our discussion and I call up our first speaker, Victoria, I will just mention some more logistics. So we have enabled the closed captioning function, so please feel free to turn it on. And each speaker will open by talking about their research for about 10 minutes. Then I will pose a question or two to our panelists, and then there will be a Q&A period. So please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A. Oh, and I also neglected to mention that I co-chair the SDG 6 group with Dr. Nicole Wilson. I couldn't do it without her, so that's important. And I'd like to say that for members of the audience who would like to learn more about the working group, you can visit the link that Sarah will put in the chat, where you can also find the list of upcoming talks in our series. So now I'd like to introduce our first speaker. I don't really need notes for this one, but so Victoria Dearborn is a graduate student with Dr. Peter Kolcheski at the Faculty of Indigenous Studies here at the university. Her thesis looks at traditional ecological knowledge and Western science from an environmental sciences approach. Welcome, Victoria.
Thanks. Do I have to come out there?
I can drag this over to you. It only reaches so far. Up to you. The owl will turn to face you. Yep.
Gently places this. Hi, my name is Victoria Dearborn. My master's thesis is on the potential integration of traditional ecological knowledge with a Western science viewscape on environmental sciences. At the University of Manitoba, we do a lot of work with positionality. So as an Indigenous person, an Indigenous scholar, we position ourselves in our research. So I am a Dakota Métis person, and this topic was very important to me because of the work that I do with my Indigenous elders. Martina Fisher from Bloodvein actually started me on this course of action when she gave a discussion about water and the importance of water to Indigenous peoples, and specifically it was a women's right. She discussed how all of the things I wanted to say are just deleted. She discussed how important waterways were and how land is autonomous, and sometimes by changing the courses of how water flows, it was just like if we went to the doctor and we said, I don't like how my blood veins look, can we change them? So it's unnatural, some of the things that we've done, and I wanted to look at the potential integration of place-based knowledges that are contained within Indigenous community and the impacts that they can have on Western science. I've noticed that through my research, I've found that there is a power issue that has been previously unresearched. The knowledge is always approached from the Western academic standpoint, and I would like to see a framework developed that is from an Indigenous lens to help kind of situate that knowledge where it should be, which is equal to or yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. It's still early days, so thank you. That was brilliant.
And as I said, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll be having more discussion with each panelist after this. So next, I would like to introduce Aidan Marchand. Aidan is an undergraduate student at the U of M. He's currently enrolled in University One. And Aidan is from Poplar River First Nation, and he works with me at our Canwin and Manitoba Great Lakes program on community-based water quality monitoring. Up here? Over here. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. It's right in front of me. Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Aidan Hindmarch. I'm from Poplar River First Nation, Manitoba. If you don't know where that is located on Treaty 5 territory on the eastern side of Lake Winnipeg. So, yeah, today I just kind of want to talk about my community-based monitoring program and kind of how that inspired, like working on that program kind of helped me inspire the career choice that I wanted to go with, which is in the environmental science program faculty. And once I get my environmental science degree, hopefully get into environmental law and become an environmental lawyer. But yeah, just kind of to start things off, I would just like to start off based on where I'm from and my community. My community is a part of the Papineau World Heritage Site. I think I don't know exactly how big it is, but there's like maybe 4 different other reserves that are part of this program. But since that program has started, the community of Poplar River has started its community-based monitoring program since 2018. So since then, our community has been working with other third-party consultants like North-South Consultants and many others I can't remember right now. But through that work, we've kind of realized that we're not really getting this data and getting control of the data, right? Like every now and then, we would send our results out into these third party and we wouldn't hear back from them. We wouldn't get full communication with that. And a lot of the time we'd wonder what is going on. And we would only hear back maybe a year later after all of that research has been done. And we'd maybe get a PDF showcasing what was done, but we don't really know if it's the full parameters or not. So yeah, but I guess, where was I gonna go with that? That kind of led the community to work with Canwin, and as I mentioned, Canwin and CIOS, Center for Observation Science, Center for Environmental Observation Science, and through this work that we've been doing, there's been a few. CIOS is giving the opportunity to give new methods to capture and get these samples. And through this, we get to own the environment, the information, and we take full control of that data. It'd be kind of, so we get control of it. We get to showcase how we want it, what we can tell with that. And yeah, so that's kind of that work. But I want to touch on more personal on what this work has been providing for me, because even before I started university, I've been working in the community with the community-based monitoring program. And I feel like that highlights why community-based monitoring is so important, because it gave me an outlook on what the land actually looks like, right? And what the waters look like, and learning about it from elders, as well as these Western institutions that kind of combine both the historical community and just indigenous science, I like to call it, right? Just the medicines and the fish, the teaching that they have to offer, as well as the teachings that the Western, like the University of Manitoba, have to offer. And you would think that they don't really mix well because we've lived off the land for so many years and before Western people came, and we knew it, and we knew how everything worked. We knew how the fish worked. We knew how the waters worked, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of the time people would think that those ideas contradict each other, but I don't think it does. I've been learning that there's ways to build upon that, and community-based monitoring was my way to look through that and kind of like, I just remember the exact moment where I was like, wow, I really want to know, because I was on this boat trip with people from the States and we were looking for birds, and I was sitting there and the person next to me he had no idea what it was like to be on the reserve, and he was kind of like asking these questions that I didn't really know the answer to, and I was sad because I was like, I really wish I could just tell these people what they want to know and what they want to learn. And I thought right there in that moment, I just kind of fell in love with science, right? It's kind of just hit me. I'm like, I need to know what's going on. I need to know why the elders are telling me that we're not getting enough fish, right? And why the water is so unpredictable nowadays, because back in my community, I was talking about potentially getting the Nanaimo, the Namao into the community to do like this community outreach day with the Lake Winnipeg Resource Consortium. But I was talking to my grandpa, and there's like, there's no way we can really tell if the Namao could actually come into the river. And I was asking him, is this like a new thing? Like, and he's like, yeah, we can't really tell normally before the elders would predict how high the water levels are. And we were just kind of talking about it, and there's no way of really knowing now. So that kind of scares me a little bit, but which is why I kind of want to go into the sciences and learn and maybe predict how it's going to come on its own, right? Because the planet is changing, and yeah, it's scary, but through work with community-based monitoring and the University of Manitoba, we could finally kind of understand how that works alongside the traditional knowledge. Yeah, that's kind of all I kind of want to ramble about. I was rambling a ton, but I feel, yeah, if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, I'd be happy to share anything.
Thank you, Aiden.
Yeah.
And Aiden is a very, very important part of our work, as you can tell. We really appreciate him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. And now I'm going to introduce Angie Papineau. Angie is from Papineau Cree Nation. I'm sorry, I'm butchering names. She is currently a University 1 student and works with Dr. Mustafa Faye, Rudy, who's running our Indigenous Science Fair, and her sister, Haley Papineau, on microplastics. Angie will be presenting her findings on microplastics and the scope of how significant the issue has become, examining whether microplastics are present in relatively fresh snow, both in a backyard setting and in an open agricultural field. Welcome, Angie.
Hi.
No pressure. We know you know what you're talking about.
Okay. Just to like kind of get my brain going, microplastics are a widespread and an invisible pollution. Microplastics are an invisible pollution in our communities and ecosystems. My research shows that even in areas from human activities, like far from human activities, like untouched snow, microplastics are still present. which means they are spreading in ways we don't fully control or understand. And exposure to microplastics is happening more than people realize, and the lack of awareness can result in decisions that don't fully address long-term health risks we may already be experiencing, and lack of policies that don't fully protect our communities. So microplastics are basically a 5 millimeter piece of plastic, and they get broken down with just wear and tear over time, but they don't fully disappear. And our research that we were doing were to see if they're in our water systems, and we wanted to know also how are they traveling through our water system. So we looked into the snow, because in the snow it's kind of airborne, and they kind of just lay flat, and they're kind of just layer upon layer of snow. So we thought that would be a great idea to test untouched snow and relatively, like, very much touched snow, like next to a roadside. And we found that microplastics are very much in the touched snow and untouched snow. And getting caught up with my words. Finding that out, and what we found was that it's not like we could count every little piece of plastic. That would be very difficult, but there was a lot in the untouched snow, and there was a lot in the water systems as well. And microplastics can be found everywhere. It's widespread. It is in your food. It's in the materials that you use to cook. So it's a direct line to you. So like plastic cutting boards, plastic utensils, plastic water bottles. And they're also in the food that we eat, like fish, meats that we buy from the grocery store. They're inside the meat. It's not like just the packaging alone. It's in our water, in the cosmetics and the chemicals that are also in the microplastics could very well be affecting our bodies and our human system and how it works. And there's no way for these microplastics to actually fully come out of your body or like flush through. So they're kind of being just caught up and gathered. So they could be gathering in your brain, in your blood, in your kidneys and liver. And they're breaking down into such a smaller and smaller size that they're now becoming nanoplastics, which are actually entering the cell of the nucleus and actually altering your genetic DNA and RDNA and other things like that. So it could be linked to a lot of different issues. They're also in placentas and breast milk, so it's also affecting kids directly as infants or even unborn children. It's an issue that is widespread and it's all over. It's not just in one community, it's not just in one city, it's the whole planet.
That's awesome.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Don't eat any snow.
Yeah.
Don't eat any snow. Like when they say don't eat the yellow snow, it's also the white snow. I also had really what inspired me to do this project. First, my brother did it, and then he kind of stepped off of it. Then I got introduced to it, and I had questions. Then I introduced my sister into it, and then me and her were doing it together. But I was mainly doing the work, but I'll give some of the credit. But some of the questions I have are how it's affecting our bodies, because plastics are made out of different chemical compounds, and those different chemical compounds as they're breaking down, they're in our bodies, so they're easily, whatever's in them can be absorbed. So the chemicals that are in the plastics are being released into the water, into oils, and into our tissues. So it could be affecting you hormonally and affecting, it's like so many health issues, hormone issues, like, and who knows what different kind of plastics could be doing in different kinds of issues. And so it's a new science. It doesn't have a lot of research behind it. There is research, but it's not long term, and so you don't have a lot of answers to a lot of questions about it. So that's what kind of also like got me to, oh, it's new, so I guess I'll try, see what I can contribute. Definitely have lots of questions about it. So if you have any questions, feel free, because that's the best way to get answers, is asking questions and being interested. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How do you tell that there's plastic in the snow?
The way that we did it was through a filtration system. So we had to gather the snow, we had to melt it down. Once it was fully melted, we had this pump machine that was connected. What was it?
It was a homemade.
Yeah, it was a homemade.
Nice.
And we had a pump that sucked up the water from the container we were using, and it would go through the filtration system as a very, very fine mesh, and the rest of the water would flow out into a drain. And so whatever we collected around there, we let it dry out, scraped it off, and tried purifying the best we could, like all the natural things like sticks, leaves, grass, other like natural components. We tried to get rid of as much as we could. And then after that, we had it on a very thin little paper mesh thing, because we had to filter it again and again. And then we looked underneath a microscope, and just under the microscope, we found lots of microplastics and even little tiny beads, which are like in the cosmetics that you use, are like in makeup and face washes. And they're from all different kind of components, and so we saw different kinds of colors and like textures even. It's like styrofoam and stuff like that. It's also kind of hard to detect which ones were plastic and not plastic, but you could tell a lot of them were plastic. And some were smaller and bigger than others. And I bet you there was ones that we couldn't see because they're becoming so small and they're breaking down in such a big scale that it's so small we can't really see underneath the microscope. So I'm sure there was more than what we could see. And we had a lot of them. And so we picked a few and we looked under the microscope and we found like threads of plastic, all kinds of things.
Yeah, thank you, Angie. That is terrifying.
I guess I have a question. It sounds like microplastics are completely unavoidable.
Yes.
Would there be any way to avoid them? Like, what are lifestyle tips or food to eat, or just?
Yeah, that's it's a good question. Definitely, it's just kind of a hard question because they're in everything. A
Right.
good way to get rid of plastics in your home is to stop using plastic utensils. Stop using plastic cutting boards, plastic cups.
Right.
Use glass. Use metal or steel. Like anything that you can replace plastic with would be the best option. Doesn't mean that you're gonna fully take away the problem, but it would reduce it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a question? I saw your hand.
Oh, I have tons of questions. I do, but it's more of, I just need time to process, because my parents, my mom works with, we work a lot with traditional medicines. And so we do see a lot of people that do come to us with illnesses. And I am my brain is like moved like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the plastic burning up or what. But even if the use of traditional medicines and where do we harvest so that we're not harvesting anything that is too full of plastics. And that sounds really horrible to say, too full of plastics, because we're always talking to our people about how to go back to our traditional foods.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's most likely starting to get into our traditional foods because it's in the waterways. And so in the waterways, also the animals of the land are consuming it as well. And we just looked at the snow, and there's other questions I've had too about is it in our soil, and is it affecting our plants? Like, there's a lot of questions that are around this, and it's like I said, in new research, so there's so many questions to be like answered. And I can't remember what I was gonna say. I had a thought, but it kind of flew away. But yeah, it's kind of unavoidable. There, like, also ideas that I've had, like, people came up with a way of breaking down plastics into fuel and into diesel, and I thought maybe that's a good way to dispose of plastics. But also there needs to be research behind that to see if there's any plastics coming off the exhaust of that diesel, and if any of the chemicals inside that plastic are going to affect our air as well. And even like when you're breathing just in the air, you're breathing in microplastics as well, especially near roadways, because rubbers and plastics are being lifted up by tires and you are breathing in it. And there's no escape from it, really. A scary thought.
That is terrifying. Thanks. I really hope you continue to work. I feel like I can meet us in the middle of the room, so I won't move it around. And apparently you can hear it. And I'll just move on to our next speaker. That's a great conversation. I'm sure there will be lots more questions for you. Now I'm paranoid with the comic off. Our next speaker is Janelle Malcolm.
The spine views.
Okay. She is from Ebb and Flow First Nation, and I'm very honored to say that she works with us on her research, which is looking at the ecological and cultural impacts of zebra mussels on her community in Ebb and Flow Lake. Thank you, Janelle.
They're rapping. It's very, never done this before. Like I said, my name is Janelle. I live in Ebb and Flow. My project is cultural. I talked to elders about our lake because they've been there on me. They used the water as drinking water a long time ago. And a couple years ago, the mussels have come to our lake. And we noticed that it was affecting the community a lot. The first thing they noticed was a lot of the kids were getting cut up by these mussels. And my first year of monitoring, the water was still very murky. Previous years, it's murky. We have those, are they called algae blooms? Yep. We have those lots because there's farms around the lake, right? And I noticed the first year, murky, but throughout the summer, while I was monitoring, the water would get more clear and clear. And this year, when I'm testing, the water has gone very insane amount of clear. And you notice too, whenever you're on a boat, that you can see the fish in the water. The thing about zebra mussels is they are an invasive species, freshwater. They like to filter out like the algae and all that, and it could like the fish, like the sunlight can penetrate through, heat up the lake, and It's not good for the fish. It depletes their oxygen. I can straight down because I have a long tail. Basically what I do right now is I'm monitoring building. I'm still pretty new with the EPA, so I don't want to get down to that. But did I bring out my equipment to show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll see you.
You can see it takes a lot to monitor a lake.
Oh, that's very. You're racking with me. Yeah. One of my main devices I would use is a sensor disc. This is to look at the water clarity. So you would just drop this down pretty much until just above. You could barely see the black. I'd also be sampling water and putting them into a glass containing iodine. I also monitor the water temperature, the air temp. But like I said, the water has been getting an insane amount of clear. It's very nerve-wracking, I'm sorry.
That'd be great.
Okay, this one's good.
So that's for,
That's the iodine we sample water. We take it to Claire's lab and we would go under the microscope and look at it. And you would see all these things. You would also see a lot of garbage in the things like microscopic garbage.
What does the iodine do?
it preserves the algae. We're looking for algae, but we can see microplastics when there's big enough. Yeah.
I'm not very confident on the phosphorus stuff.
Oh, right. Well, we're doing a good job. So Janelle's testing for nitrogen and phosphorus in the water as well. She's going to be working with Aiden and our team to see how. Do you want to hold up your little mop pit there? Yeah. So she tests three. She does a lot of work. She tests three different ways. She tests using the test strip. Tests using the colorimetric method. And then she sends samples in her water bottle to the lab. So we can compare how all the different methods are comparable for accuracy and sensitivity to give communities different options based on their capacity. And Janelle does all that baseline work to do that.
I also want to get down to why I wanted to do this project, so we can get that question over with. So again, like I said, the elders in our community used that water a long time ago for drinking water, but also my family has a history with working with water, and my brother he had done sensor, so okay.
That's awesome.
And I have a question. So when I was there with you, you showed us, you took us to the area that was used to be used for what purpose? Why wasn't it used anymore? Where your the giant dream catcher and
That outground or the Sundance?
the Sundance.
The Sundance, yes, because it's also how they were affecting the water. Actually, that island, it's called Eagles Island. We use that lots for. You guys know what tree days are?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a bunch of basketball courts there, volleyball, just for the kids in Edinburgh to have a place to go hang out and actually do something. And after the events, zebra mussels, everything there was just left completely abandoned. If you go to that island, you'll see lots of dead zebra mussels along the shore, like thousands.
Thank you, Janelle.
Amazing.
That was wonderful.
I'm gonna turn the lights off so we can see.
Okay.
Boston stuff.
Yes. Are you gonna stay there, Boston?
Look,
Wonderful. Okay, just share screen. So I would like to introduce our final presenter today. This is Boston McKay. Boston is from Mikisew High School in Cross Lake First Nation. I'm probably way too close to that speaker. He is currently attending the Bridge program at St. John's College of the U of M and is also taking a university course. Boston works with Dr. Eric Collins from my faculty, and the title of his project, as you can see, is Zebra Mussels in Cross Lake, Manitoba, Managing the Infestation. Boston has also attended the Manitoba Indigenous Science and Engineering Fair previously, where he was selected as a finalist to represent Manitoba at the Canada-wide Science Fair in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Prior to that, he also presented his project at the Manitoba School Science Symposium, where he won Most Outstanding Environmental Project at a senior level. And I know there was a lot of people that were interested in your work when they saw it Canada-wide, Boston. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Boston. My project is on zebra mussels in McKay. This all started with a personal experience of mine. I was just swimming outside across the by the big rocks, and I got cut by a zebra mussel. And that just made me wonder, how did the zebra mussels get here, since they're originated from Eastern Europe. So I wanted to somehow find a way to track them in the community. So the problem, zebra mussels, they're an invasive species like you heard them general. They filter out large amounts of zooplankton in the water. They disturb natural habitats, reduce biodiversity in the water. So they affect fish habitats too, and in my community, we noticed in one Pacific area sandhill, it was a natural spawning area for fish, but then when the zebra mussels showed up here, like around 2022, when I first got cut by the zebra mussel, is when we started noticing that all these in my community started flesh as fish in the water and in their natural spawning areas. They also clog pipes in hydro. Hydro deals with these mussels every summer. They use a chlorine method to push down the pipes to kill the mussels, but that also affects the water. What I did, I collected 12 different water samples around my community. I used eDNA, environmental DNA, to extract the I'll show later, but we had this filter. We would put the water through the filter. You would grab the filter papers, piece it up, and you would extract the DNA from it. And I was looking for zebra mussel DNA. From the results, I saw that zebra mussels were growing in the beach areas where the kids like to swim, and we also noticed in North End. And this was the natural fish spawning place that got degraded over time due to the zebra mussels and other effects in the water. Other stuff I was able to find using DNA sampling was algae blooms in the water detected in Papineau area. It's just really dirty water. I could go back. It's slides. The dirtier samples of Papineau were found to have algae. And this was a recent picture of zebra mussels detected in the community. I want to expand my work outside of Cross Lake now and the Nelson River to see like a pathway to how they got here, how zebra mussels got here, and see if the infestation grew over time. Because I sampled that in winter 2025, and I will be doing it over the summer. And I want to find a more eco-friendly way to get rid of these sea mussels, if possible, without harming the water using chlorine or anything. Yeah.
That was brilliant. Thank you, Boston. So I know we're coming close to the end of our time. We are going to have still a few questions. If you're able to stay on, that would be great. If not, we understand. So I'm going to say thank you now, but then I'm going to ask the panelists a question. So it's a bit weird. Our next talk in April will be in April, date to be decided, by another of our researchers in agriculture, Dr. Ranjan Sriranjan, and it's called Advances in Water Management for Sustainable Agricultural Production to Improve Yields. So thank you very much. And I'd like to give another round of applause to our panelists. Thank you guys so much for talking. I know you're all super busy and it's really nerve-wracking. And I'm going to pose a question that anybody can answer. So, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience, both here and whoever's online. So, what was the most surprising thing that you guys found about the research that you did? Put this in the middle. Does anybody have something that surprised them when they started? I'll give you an example. So when I started doing my work on water quality on lakes to the west of Lake Winnipeg, I worked in water quality for a long time, like 20 years before I worked on those lakes. So sometimes you make assumptions about things, and I assumed that these lakes would have certain levels of nutrient in them or certain levels of salt in them. And it turns out it was kind of the reverse of what I thought. It was higher in salt in an area that I thought would be low and vice versa. And also, because I look at algae, the type of algae I found in these lakes is very different than the type of algae in Janelle's lakes, for example, which is interesting because Janelle's lake actually flows into the south end of Lake Manitoba. Anybody else? Victoria?
No. Something that I found very interesting was when I started to look at case studies of co-management between the Canadian government and Indigenous population, or Indigenous communities, especially in the example of the Ruby Ridge Rams conservation project. A lot of co-management projects, especially in the north, are advertised as being 100% successful. But that's from a governmental standpoint. They view it as a success, even though they do not integrate often the Indigenous communities' concerns or perspectives into the final piece that they publish. So I found that was very interesting because if you ask the community, they often don't find it successful.
Very interesting and alarming.
And alarming.
Anybody else?
So we did the similar work with Angie on the Red River, right? We did it from Emerson all the way down to the Forks, then beyond the Forks. And what we found, and what was interesting was the amount of microplastics before the water treatment plant and after were the same. So the water treatment plant is not taking up microplastics, the water. And there's obviously a large difference in seasonality. So spring you get a lot of microplastics, right? And in the summer, you get less, and in the fall you get less. So it's just basically more.
Do you think they settle out into the sediment? Just to follow up that question.
So that's an excellent question. We never got that far, but I suspect yes. And I think if we were able to take, say, lake core samples or river bottom samples,
yeah,
we'll probably see a layer in there.
Interesting.
I imagine that will be the case.
So I have a follow-up question for Janelle, because one of the things we did in the winter, and when I say we, I didn't actually go, but Janelle and our students went and did some coring on your lake. So have you guys ever noticed like plastics around your shorelines that might be potential to be degraded? So I wonder, we took a core there. I wonder if we would be able to look at it for microplastics as well.
There's a question for Boston. I was just wondering, what was the chemical again that would Hydro would push out to clean out their pipes?
Chlorine. This, I forgot what it was, it's a big name, but like around chlorine.
Right. Have you guys done like any research on what that is doing to
The water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. What I learned is that when after they clean up the pipes using that chlorine prevented treatment, they would just shoot the water back, tap in chlorine-applied water back into the lake, which kind of nukes the entire aquatic population.
Right.
Kills the fish and damages the ecosystem. That's what hydros do.
That's really serious. I find that pretty scary. Like they just do that to benefit their pipes because that. But so from my understanding, I guess what are those pipes purpose like?
They in our community they could take the water in and up and take with the hydro station.
Right.
And in the winter times they take the water out and put the water back in the summer times. So then that's when they change out the waters, bring the chlorine water in.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Do we have any online questions? Lindsay? Perfect. Okay. Does anybody else have a question? No, I have one more question, sorry. So some of you already spoke to this, how one of the things that made you want to do your work is because the elders and your traditional history says that the water is very different. So have any of you talked to your elders about what you see versus what they see, or can you compare? Do you notice a big change from what used to be compared to what is now?
Well, I would also like to point out that they used to drink the river water as well, but people lately have been getting sick off of that, and that's also pretty interesting. I found that learning from talking to elders and the people from my community, and it's recommended to not drink it now, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad. Anybody else? No.
I've noticed, talking with my mom, who works with Jordan's principal, and she's directly in contact with, children that are, that have autism and, learning issues and stuff like that, other elders, just hearing stories really, that there's been more and more cases of autism and genetic, illnesses like cancers and blood issues, heart attacks. Lots of heart attacks have been happening in my community. And my thought that it really is a thought, I can't really say that this is a direct issue with microplastics, but my thought and theory is that microplastics are getting smaller to nanoplastics and altering DNA genetic patterns, so it could possibly be linked to children are fine. Like I had a friend where her daughter's son was fine, and then all of a sudden he was showing signs of autism. Not like really he was born with it, but like it kind of progressed. And I was wondering if it had any issues with microplastics being in our body and affecting our brains, affecting our genetic pattern, and I thought possibly that microplastics could be linked to cancer because they're so small that they're entering the cell. And since they're so undetectable, so small, is it possible that microplastics are linked to cancer and that once that cell is considered like an attack on the immune system, it all becomes a cyst and becomes a large tumor and it's saying it's cancer? Could that be linked to it being a plastic and the body fighting it, but there's no way for your body to actually filter it out? And I thought maybe those two things were linked. It was just a thought. So yeah, I have no idea, but yeah, it's not.
That's a really interesting hypothesis for sure. That's terrifying, but so do you have plans to continue your work?
Yeah, I've kind of stepped back from university because I've had some issues going on. But I definitely want to come back. I definitely want to continue research. I know I could possibly continue research even though I'm not in uni. I could do some research at home and maybe work on the land and see what I can continue working with Dr. Kayak and see what else I can do. I was gonna say some I keep losing it. Yeah.
It happens to me all the time. Do you feel, this is kind of outside your purview, but are you aware of any medical research that's actually looking at the effects of microplastics, either in animals or humans?
Yes. And I've looked at Harvard University pages and looking at how it is. They don't want to say that it's a direct link to microplastics, but it could be that it's affecting all your body. For instance, a link to cancer, it's a link to blood issues, hormonal issues, and lots of other things. So it's kind of widespread, and so we can't really detect exactly like how it's affecting us because it's so widespread and like chemicals that are in the plastic. We'd have to look at the chemicals, see how those chemicals affect our bodies, and like I would like to try to figure out if there's any way we could like possibly get rid of the microplastics in our bodies, but I don't think there is a way. And there was, I don't know the thought. Rudy, my professor that I was working with a bit, he actually contacted a former assistant and was talking to her, and they found out through the hospital that her husband had a microplastic in his brain and it could possibly kill him in a certain amount of time.
Wow.
So it is affecting people now. It's not affecting people later along the line. It's possibly even affecting people who are researching about microplastics. So it's an issue that's affecting people's health now and essentially killing people as it's going up to your brain. It's possibly clogging blood flow. It's affecting so many different parts of our bodies that we can't really control. And it's in your food systems as well. So when I saw that in farming industries, I saw them taking bread that was still in plastic bags, grinding it up, and actually feeding that mulch to pigs. And so they're eating that microplastic. That microplastics do not filter out completely. So when they harvest the meat, package it to us, it has microplastics in it, and then we eat it. It's kind of the same way of an energy system of like an animal eats plants, that animal eats that animal, that animal eats that animal. It's kind of the same way with plastics, is that it starts one place, another consumes it, we consume it in different ways, even breathing. So it can be linked to lung cancer, bone cancer, blood cancer. It will lead to a lot of things.
Wow. So is that like big agricultural farms or smaller ones?
I'd say bigger agriculture farms, because farming industry is also another issue. And what it does to our animals, even just on land farming too, like the soil, the topsoil.
Right.
There's like on a cellular level, maybe it's even getting into our plants. We have no idea. There's not a lot of research. But it's just kind of questions and ideas of like, okay, what else could it be getting into? What else can it be linked to? What kind of problems are we having now that could be linked to microplastics? And it's a lot. And microplastics were created in 1907, and they weren't. Wait, what is this the year that we're?
The first commercial processing.
1925. Yeah. So it's a long time we've been adjusting them.
And when they created those plastics, it was a big push to put them everywhere, in your cars, in your food, in the things that you use, in your toothbrushes. You have plastic toothbrushes, so it's a direct link to your mouth and your digestive system. Microplastics in it's kind of everywhere. So I'd say like try to find the best natural way to. So if you can buy a wooden toothbrush that doesn't have microplastics like plastic, that would be a great way. Stop using plastic cups. Even your water bottle that you drink now, even though it might seem that it's packaged and sanitized, because that's kind of a big thing about plastic. It's sanitary, even in medical systems. There's a big push there too, because it had been sanitized. Right. And it's kind of hard to find a replacement for it because it's everywhere. We're sitting on plastic. We're drinking out of plastic. It's kind of a problem that will take a long time to resolve, and I'm wondering if we could ever find a replacement for plastic. If there's any natural way we can make natural plastic. Seen as in plants or in mushrooms or something like that. Like there could be different ways we can do things.
Yeah. And I think awareness is a big step, right? Yeah, educating us today is really important because I wouldn't have done that. And I have lots of questions, but I won't ask them since it's already 12:15. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. We really, really appreciate it. Sarah, is there anything else you want to add? Sorry. No, that's a urgent work email. Yeah.
I know when we talk about these types of issues, sometimes you kind of walk away going, oh my gosh, we're sick to the gloom. But I want you all to know that listening to you all, again, my brain's just been all over the place because I've had the experience of working, this a while back, with the University of Manitoba and the Center for Environmental Indigenous. I can't even remember. But we had courses. And I was one of the students. I was one of the pilot students that we forged this little path where we had instructors here from the university and we had elders and we incorporated that knowledge together. And that's how we learned about environmental issues. And after I was done that, I wanted to become an environmental lawyer. I'm not one. But I also think, and I spent a lot of time in our studies in your area. And we did a lot of research up in that area with the snow and everything. And so everything that we see here is all connected. Everything that we see and everything that we do is all connected. And I think of my uncle. I think of my late uncle, and his name was, everybody has heard about him, Uncle Murray Sinclair. And one of the things that he had always said was that, you know, when it comes to what it is that we're facing now, it's education that got us here. It's education that got us to where we are right now when we look at the impacts of everything that is around us. But it's also, when I look at you guys and I seriously feel super hopeful because it's education that's gonna get us out. And so when I hear the research that you're all doing, I'm not a language speaker and I don't wanna go too far into that because we all know the impacts of what has happened to us and why a lot of us don't have our language. But one of the words that always sits strong with me is Anguamazin. Anguamazin, and all of you that I want to share that and share that with all of you. And that means to stay determined and stay focused on what it is that, where it is that you are going. As you're walking forward every day, stay focused on what it is that you're doing. And I'm really excited to hear where every one of you are. And I'm like 4 years, 5 years from now, I would love to hear where you all are in your research. And Fredericton, yeah, I live like an hour away from Fredericton. And I get to come back home to come and visit and to listen to all of your beautiful stories. And stay strong, stay focused, and stay determined in what it is. You will be back in school one day. And that's how things work. And like seriously, like stay strong in what it is that you do. Thank you much for sharing your knowledge with us and spending that time to share what it is that you're researching. To me, good.
Thank you, Ramona. That was wonderful. And thank you all. Big round of applause. Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. So you're off camera.